Ooh-wee. Okay, I want to do a really quick intro. Hi, everybody, and welcome to Creative Mood. I'm your host. My name is Sacha Omer. What can I tell you? This week's episode is a very, very unique episode, namely because I was tasked by M from Montreal, who was celebrating their 20th anniversary this year, to co-host my podcast with composer Cristobal Tapia De Veer. Co-host, I said, with Heather Gardner from Toronto. She is the head of music supervision for Vapor Music and Long Division, as well as being the president of the Guild of Music Supervisors of Canada. Whew. Of course, I'm assuming that if you are here, you know who Cristobal is and you know his work with Utopia, White Lotus, and so on and so on. This guy has done a lot of things, a lot of big things, I should say. I want to say I need to express a lot of gratitude to the M from Montreal team for nudging me this year to include my podcast in their official programming. What an opportunity and a blessing it has been. I have made so many contacts, and I am positive that so many beautiful things are going to come from this. I had a blast doing it with Heather and Cristobal in front of a room full of people that came to hear us talk. What a blessing. I want to say thank you to Cristobal, thank you to Heather, thank you to M from Montreal team. It's a very unique episode. It's very unfiltered. It's off the cuff. Me and Cristobal and Heather did not really meet prior to recording this episode. So it is indeed freestyled in the best possible way. I will leave you at that. Have a great listen. And if you loved it, please consider following me and subscribing. All the information that you need is in the description of this episode. Enjoy. Check, check, check. All right. How is everybody? I see we're still settling in. Perfect. Bonjour, hi, everyone. Thanks for being here. Okay, there's a little echo in my voice. Yeah, thanks for being here. My name is Sacha. I'm a musician and host of the Creative Mode podcast here in Montreal. And I was asked this year to host a conversation with Cristobal and Heather Gardner from Toronto. Yeah. I guess that what I could tell you about me before we just jump in is that, like I said, I have a podcast, and I started doing song breakdowns with using stem files with my guests 5 years ago. So now it's a bit more of a common thing, but back then people didn't used to do this. So we would go with like drums, guitars, keys. Then we would listen to a demo. Then we would listen to we would talk about the poetry. And my conversations would end by listening to a master of the song. But really, this has always been a pretext for meeting people because for me, artists hold a really special place in our world. I feel that often we don't really get to hear what these people have to say for real. So through my conversations, I just really like to get to know who my guests are by tracing their story. And then when we get to talk about their work, I feel that we just get closer to their work when we really know who they are. So I guess I could tell you that my podcast is about humanizing my guests. And that's what I would tell you about me before we start.
Hello, my name is Heather Gardner. I am a music supervisor at a company called Vapor Music based out of Toronto, and also the president of the Guild of Music Supervisors Canada. And so honored to have been asked to join this conversation. And I guess where Sacha brings that human conversation element to our chat, I feel very fortunate to spend my days living in that intersection between music and film and television, and getting to be the translator between these two very detailed, niche, creative worlds with a lot of creative human beings. So whereas I think the way we're going to do this is Sacha's going to kind of kick us off in chatting a little bit about history and Cristobal's story. And then we're going to move over to my side a little bit midway through to chat a bit about the creativity and the business and the functionality of music for film, because I'm sure we've got some composers in the room and aspiring composers as well.
Yeah, is anybody a composer in the room? By raise of hand. Okay, got you. Is anybody a musician in the room? Okay, got it.
A lot of people who work with music and are very passionate about music from those who I am seeing. So we've got a good crowd.
I guess I would ask Cristóbal to introduce himself, but I'm assuming everybody here is familiar with his work. Yes? Okay. I want to start things off, which is funny because I just got to meet you, so we're really doing this cold. Obviously, Cristóbal, for me, it always starts at like, where are you from, basically?
By the way, I love your intro that you like to humanize musicians. I really appreciate that because that's the opposite of Hollywood. So,
boom,
that's really cool. Where I'm from?
Yeah,
I was born in Chile, and I came here when I was 15. And we were supposed to, but they told my mom that for a kid it would be better to go to Quebec City because it's more, quiet. So yeah, and then I moved here a few years after.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you spent your first 15 years
in Chile. Yeah.
Got it. And then at 15 you came to Quebec.
Yeah.
And did you speak French before you came here?
No.
Okay. So did you speak English?
No, not really. I mean, there's lots of, English import in South America.
Right.
I mean, the music you listen to and all of that. So
right.
I knew more English words than I knew French words, but
okay.
I didn't speak English. So it took me a couple of years of being isolated, I suppose, and just listening all the time before I could really start trying to fit in and just communicating. And then when you get here, you go to an immigration class.
Okay.
Integration thing. And so it takes a couple of years, maybe.
And what did your parents do for a living?
My mother was a photographer. I came here because she took me at that time because she had lots of political problems in Chile.
Okay.
And it took a very long time to get political asylum here. And the problems in Chile started in the 70s,
mm-hmm.
Dictatorship, stuff like that. And so some of my family left. We went to Paris when I was like a baby.
Okay.
And I was there for a couple of years. And then we had to come back for, I don't know whatever reason. So, and then my mom spent years trying to get an asylum in Australia, and then that didn't work out, and in the end it worked here. So
gotcha.
Yeah.
And what did your father do?
My father is a painter, and I didn't really know him for a very long time because he left for Europe in the 70s too.
Okay.
And so he lived all his life in mainly Paris.
Gotcha.
So
So you're the son of a photographer and a painter.
Yeah.
Got it. Do you have any siblings?
2 sisters.
Okay. And are you the oldest, the youngest?
The oldest.
Okay. And what was the music that was playing in your house when you were a kid?
Anything classical music.
Okay.
All kinds of American music. I would listen to when I discovered the radio, I just took my mom's ghetto blaster and just started recording stuff from the radio. And
you're recording tapes?
It's all American stuff, mainly.
Okay. What was your, like, that was your parents' music at that age, but what was like your first music? The first bands or artists that you got into?
There's lots of stuff that I didn't know what it was because we had vinyls.
Okay.
And I would just listen to all kind of stuff. I do remember Ennio Morricone vinyls.
Right.
And I didn't really get into movies or anything like that. I just liked the music because it felt like watching a movie. And it's like children's music, really.
Really?
Ennio Morricone. So you have like characters moving from the speakers. But I don't know, at some point I was a really big fan of Michael Jackson. And then I got into metal. And South America is very big on heavy metal and thrash and all that. It's very powerful. I suppose it's because, political stuff and the whole vibe of South America. So, and when I got into metal, it was nothing but that. We didn't consider any kind of music outside of metal.
It was a lifestyle.
Yeah, because I don't know, it goes with what's happening. Like, I don't know, on Sundays we would go to this place like outside of here, and there's all these heavy metal guys, long hair. You can see from far what kind of people are there.
Yeah.
And then these people are always lefties. There's no right-wing heavy metals.
Right.
And so the police would come every Saturday with...
That is true, yeah.
With, what's the bomb that makes you cry?
Tear gas.
Tear gas. So yeah, they beat you up, and there's tear gas and stuff like that. And that would blend into... what's the name? When people go to the streets,
riot,
complain, riot, but not riot, but it's
protest.
Protest,
yes.
Sorry,
right.
And that would blend with leftist protests, and everybody get together, and so it's kind of like that.
It's interesting that like some countries really see music as a threat. It's funny that you just mentioned that like there's no right-wing metal. And that's not a small comment to say,
I mean, America sees music as a threat.
You're right.
At that time, there was a panic, the satanic panic.
Right.
I mean, politicians speaking how musicians were destroying the youth and all that.
Yeah.
If you watch those videos now on YouTube, you're laughing. You start laughing because it's so incredibly ridiculous. It makes no sense.
Right.
It's just that I'm pretty sure if you watch videos from now in 20 years, the panics,
you're right.
The outrage and stuff like that is just kind of ridiculous. So, anyways,
this really sort of highlights the essential point of like why I think music is so important. Is like that's a proof of it. Some people in power are scared of those things. If it wasn't so important, they wouldn't be scared.
It makes people think.
Yeah.
And from the moment somebody has some attention, like, I don't know, Frank Zappa, let's say, and he was always complaining about stuff, politicians and stuff like that. And then people realize that this guy is getting too much attention,
and he's smart.
Then they have to destroy him in one way or another.
Yeah.
So I think that's just the way of the US, but I don't know.
And I gotta ask you, at what age did you start getting into music? Was there an instrument, or what was the gateway for you to get into music?
It's kind of just there because in Latin America, people... Like you always have an uncle or somebody who is going to start singing folk songs.
Gotcha.
Traditional stuff. And there's always a guitar in every house, maybe a piano. So I just started jamming on my mom's guitar, and it was always there.
How old were you?
I don't know. 7, 8.
Okay.
I mean, I was always banging on things like my mom would allow me to break dishes and stuff like that.
Okay.
Because I wanted to hear, how the sounds and stuff. So it was a bit like that. My mom was a lot more. She was always with artists and theater people and painters and Jodorowsky and all those guys. Because Jodorowsky was there's like a small crazy artistic gang from Chile and movie makers and people like that. Some of them left, like Alejandro Jodorowsky.
Right.
But they were quite the extremists in the sense that you could say that they did some questionable things. Like my mom hates Jodorowsky.
Okay.
Because she knew him, and he was a friend of my grandfather.
Okay.
And so there's Jodorowsky has autobiography, which is a pretty big book. I think it's his best book, I find. And in there somewhere, there's a couple of pages on my grandfather.
Really?
His name was Raúl De Veer, and he's a writer. I learned in that book that my grandfather would sometimes not shower for 3 weeks before presenting a new book to some people, and he would look like a caveman. Because he needed to know the real opinion of the work.
Right.
It's not that you're charming people.
Right.
It's not that you're buying them.
Right.
It's like, at some point, if they don't like you and they still like what you do,
right,
then that has to have some meaning. And
artists and their integrity, huh? yeah, for sure.
And there was a poet that I knew when I was a kid, and she had like red hair, and she was known to be like a bully. She was really, really loud. I was always afraid of her, but I was really interested in her.
Right.
And she was extremely loud, and she was known because she broke the nose of a cop. And they took her to prison. I don't remember why.
Chile, people are aggressive, I see.
But she broke his face, and it's like that's a hero. So we were like, it's just exciting stuff when you're a kid. But So
okay.
So Jodorowsky, my mom doesn't like him because he's kind of a manipulator, and most people that know him or read about him, I think you get an idea of what he was like.
Right. At
that time. He could be abusive with actors and in the name of art and all of that stuff. But but that was a little bit the vibe of Chile when I was a kid.
And I don't know about you guys right now, but I'm already seeing like how all those pieces connect, which all those things I didn't know about you that seem to already inform what we know of you today, which is why I like asking those things. And then, because composing is such a specific thing in the realm of music making, I want to know how you went from playing guitar and piano because it was around in your house to like, was there a moment in your life, something happened, or a specific time in your life where you decided to pursue music professionally?
You don't think about profession in Chile because if you're an artist, you're a joke. There was no future in that, and lots of my family was very square people, and it's like they're gonna ask you what you really wanna do with your life. If you say like you wanna be a musician, it's like you just wanna have fun, or something.
But both your parents were artists.
Yeah, and they have lots of trouble with their parents, my grandparents, which I knew all of them because in my house there was great grandparents,
Wow.
my mother, like an uncle. There was just like lots of people in my house,
Okay.
Which is a good thing. I think we would be better off getting to see how every generation deal with each other.
You're right.
Like I had no trouble with my grandmother. My mom, it was impossible. They couldn't talk. My grandmother would just criticize my mom,
Gotcha.
and my mom just wanted to be free, or all of that stuff. But we didn't have that with my grandmother. Yeah, she was like my mom in certain ways.
Right.
So the music was only for fun. It wasn't only for expression. Me and my best friend, we were just angry all the time. The main fuel for everything is just anger, because from living there, from whatever that was, and we would record demos of just some kind of metal, yelling and whatnot. I used to make drums like with trash cans and anything that would make a sound. And then I got into. I had an uncle who told me, he was an electrician. He told me that if you take a speaker from an old radio, you can plug the cables in the mic input of the ghetto blaster. Sorry. And so then you have a microphone.
Right.
And
wait, so you did that?
Yeah.
Okay.
So you can. I used to tape the speaker on my acoustic guitar.
Yeah.
And then that would get the sound of the guitar into the ghetto blaster.
Yeah.
I could tape it to the floor, and so if I do this, it goes. It picks that up into the ghetto blaster. And if you put the volume to the max, it sounds like, I don't know, like a. It sounded like a hip hop kick drum.
Right. Right.
Like the speaker is gonna pop, and so I would just put that to the max, and I have like kick drums.
Okay, so this is who you were as a kid. That's amazing. That's perfect.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I want to know. Okay, perfect. That's who I'm dealing with. I get it. And how did you transition? Because again, like for me, composing is such a specific thing. Eventually you moved to Quebec. You're 15. And by that time, are you still pursuing music? You're still making music? I'm assuming you're not in bands. You just moved. Did you get in bands when you came here?
I went to the conservatory.
Okay.
Because my mom thought it was the best education. So, yeah, we knew the reputation of being, at the conservatory, stuff like that.
Right.
Which at the time it was free. You would go to the conservatory for free.
Wow.
And so it was like a no-brainer. Just get in there, and
it's free.
Which I didn't. It's not that I was so interested in classical music. I mean, I love classical music, but the job of classical musicians is a very different thing. It's 9 to 5 orchestra, so I didn't see that in the future. Mm-hmm. But I was happy to learn all the technique, all that stuff.
Right.
And
so I just want to frame my story in my head. Like when you're in the conservatoire, how old are you?
Maybe 16.
Okay, wow. That's really young to start doing this.
Yeah, because maybe because it's music and you can somehow start learning technique. And when a few words with the teacher, it's maybe enough to start getting to know what to do, the basics.
Right.
And yeah, and so
And do you? Sorry.
that has nothing to do with composition, though. For me, the conservatory is really you become a player.
Right.
They make players, and for sure it did something to learn harmony. It's just that I don't think about it now, but for sure it is there because I know why Bach sounds like Bach, like Baroque music, and I could write a piece a test in harmony. It takes maybe 6 or 8 hours,
Right.
and you have to write a piece in the style of Bach.
Wow.
And at the end you play it, and kind of sounds like Bach. It's not genius, but you get
Right.
you understand why it sounds a certain way. And all of these people, like Mozart too, it's lots of exercises. When you listen to a symphony or something like that, it's like a puzzle where you can tell what he's using. It's not like somebody jamming. It's not like Jimi Hendrix
Right.
going to another planet. It's very mathematical. It's very so.
So I guess
and you can jam in there, of course. Amazing improvisers at the time on the organ and all of that. But it's somehow predictable, the sound of that.
That's how you feel about that? Wow. I know what you mean. It's this sort of knowledge always impresses me. Like whenever I speak with like people who have a classical background, I can only admit that like it's a different kind of beast, The comprehension of that mathematic. I find that it's, and I like that. It's interesting to learn from me your background in music and how you've come to that, because it's so much more punk rock in a sense, metal, and then to lean into that classical music. There's sort of a through line for you. And then when did you start composing with computers and using softwares, machines?
I always had bands on the side.
Okay.
Anything from rock, jazz. We will play jazz gigs in clubs or anything outside of classical music. And some pop bands and electronic stuff. And at some point I ordered, I don't remember exactly when in the 90s, but there's this machine, the Roland VS, whatever it was. It was the first time you could have an 8-track digital CD quality recording. And I remember seeing that on a page on a magazine, and it was the new thing. And when I read the specs and all that, it kind of felt like I could do an album at home. Like it was truly felt like a revolution.
Right.
But it was new, and nobody was talking about that. It was the first time on a magazine, something like that. And so I went to the store and I canceled an order I had on a drum, and I told them I was going to get that instead.
Okay.
And that's probably the best move I ever done.
Okay.
Because from that moment, I started making demos with that.
Mm-hmm.
And in this city, everybody was talking about, you hear what this guy is doing in an apartment? It's like,
yeah.
Because even now it's impressive what you can do in an apartment. It's just
Sure.
at the time, there was nothing like that.
Right.
There was nobody.
Yeah.
You either have money for a studio, or you have a friend with some early computer stuff that was just terrible to use.
Right.
And this was really user-friendly. I don't know. It was something else. So I think maybe that changed something about the production side.
Right.
And getting things done and getting things to labels. And then we got Warner all of a sudden, and BMG and Virgin. And they like the demos, and they're like, okay, that sounds good. So this guy is going to be the producer. Let him do the album, and then we get money from that. And so when that happens, I suppose I was finishing the conservatory, and I got a master's degree
Right.
And even at that point, I knew that I was not going to become a classical musician.
Right.
But this was happening on the side, and it was obvious that I was going to go into pop music.
Right.
So yeah, that's it.
What was the first, call it a gig or professional engagement that you ever got? What started it for you?
In production or playing?
Production, yeah.
Uh,
Because you were telling me that you got this machine and now you could send demos places.
I mean, I had this band here called One Ton at the
Okay.
time. And then we were called something else before that, but we started making demos with them. And I was producing everything. And so, like with that band, we got lots of offer. There was like a bidding war with,
Wow.
with major labels.
Okay.
Yeah, and that was based on demos, homemade stuff. So,
Okay.
it's just interesting to kind of feel all of a sudden to have a certain power of you could reach without bypassing the whole multi-million dollar
Sure,
studio
yeah.
thing. Yeah.
And in terms of what we know you for today, tell me about that transition from like producing yourself, you know, with bands, artists, and then what started you on your path from there?
Musically, like me stylistically or professionally?
It could even be spiritually, you know? Yeah, I just want to know, like, I'm trying to piece the story together of you doing all those things, building this experience, acquiring this knowledge, and then eventually, you know, for you to get to where you are today.
I mean, at some point, I tried a British show series because there was a director who was here. He came from the UK. He was shooting some scenes here, and he was super respected over there. He already won like BAFTAs and all kinds of stuff. So he was kind of bored a little bit with what he was hearing. He just wanted something different from the music.
Right.
And so he didn't want to work with an actual composer for movies. And he heard something that I did, and we met, and he took a chance, really.
Right.
For some reason, he thought I could do this kind of stuff, and so we did that, and that went well. It was a good show. At that point, I didn't really think this is the way, this is where I'm going, or
Right.
I'm leaving pop music or anything like that. The year after, he called me again, and we did a show called Utopia. And I went to the UK, and I stayed there for 6 months. And it was the first time I was in London. And I think that changed drastically everything because I took so many chances. It was such a weird thing to do. What happened? The music. I was telling this story. I'm sorry if there's any people who was at the other talk the other day. It's the same thing, but it's just that I was really uncomfortable with how people were going to receive the work that I did.
Okay.
Because it was super weird and not what you expect in a show like this, which is the end of the world, sci-fi kind of thing, futuristic, and you would expect a certain thing from that style. And the music has nothing to do with that. I was using like Latin American percussions and just weird stuff, and it was kind of groovy and for many reasons. I thought when it was going to come out that people were that the press were going to destroy the work and like I destroyed the show or something like that.
Right.
And then the opposite happened, and that show became a cult, and even to this day in Britain, it's like it's like a major thing, and so that made me understand maybe that completely changed the perspective on what you have to do to be perceived, or what do people perceive of what you do, or what do you need to do to get somewhere and have some impact and stuff like that.
Right.
And one of the things that I think is common to any artist is that if you have a really personal opinion on something, of course you're going to be afraid,
right,
uncomfortable, and I think that's a good sign, because that means that maybe you're being honest and you're
putting yourself
kind
out
of
there.
Naked in front of the crowd in a certain way. So for me, that was the turning point of what I need to do, because after that, I had everybody calling me since 2013. I had every agency from the US, from Fortress or William Morris or whoever. I met all of them, and it's a weird thing when the way I perceive what I did is it's so incredibly weird and funky, and it has nothing to do with the big Hollywood stuff and stuff like that.
Right.
And so and that put me in a position where I didn't have to take jobs, in the sense that I didn't have to fit with what's expected for whatever Hollywood movie or anything like that.
That leads me perfectly
Say exactly
to my first question was, so now that you have everybody calling you, so many composers feel early in their career they have to take any job that comes their way. They want to build this. They have to take these credits that maybe don't align with their own personal style, their own creativity. You are at this beautiful place where you can pick and choose your projects. And how do you choose what to say yes to? What is inspiring about something that calls to you when you see a project?
I've been learning that every year because I don't know, BBC One called me at that time to do a period drama, and this was like at the same time I was doing Utopia, right after that, and I was really impressed because it's BBC One, and it seems like this amazing big project, and so I took the job because I was impressed, and I didn't want to let that go. And it's like it's a chance, so I just had to do that. And then when I was doing that, I realized that there's lots of stuff about a BBC period drama that is just not for me. And then I could decide to, for example, hire somebody to take care of the strings, let's say, so it sounds more like those people would expect for a period drama, and so on. I think that's a process of disappearing. Like I don't want to be a manager and tell a specialist what to do with the strings and this and that.
You don't want a team beneath you that you're micromanaging.
No, I don't want a team. I think if you start doing all of this stuff to fit all of those projects, I think you disappear. I don't see. I don't know how to say it otherwise. Whoever you were when you were a kid and all of that stuff, it has to disappear. If you don't want to be fighting with those people or disappointing them, and so that was one thing. Then I did a show called Humans. I did the first season of that, and that was a hit. And so they wanted to do a second season, and then I left. I quit after the first season, even though it was working super great. And then I got to understand how you can make these people really angry if you do something like that.
Yeah. I mean, so much of the job of a composer is essentially serving someone else's creative, right? You've got somebody who's lived with this, whether it's a film they've been writing for 10 years or a TV show that's taken 6 development cycles at different studios to happen. And you're stepping in essentially to bring your own originality and creativity to someone else's creative. And that's a balancing act. And how do you manage that? It seemed kind of where you were going with that.
I was happy with that show. I didn't leave because I was not happy about something. I left because I wanted to do something else. Because every show, like you have a big director that's going to do the first episode maybe, or the first couple. And then they leave because they have better to do than spend their lives on a show. And to me, that made perfect sense. Like, I don't want to spend my life making, working on a show. So that was the only thing. It's only that doesn't work for composers. They don't see it like that. Like, you started something and you need to keep going. So
did they then reuse your thematic material and keep using what you established and work that way?
Yeah, and then the other composer, with time, she was able to introduce new things and all that. So so every year you kind of learn something when people get mad at you for whatever reason. But to me, everything takes me back from what we spoke at the beginning. For me, it's Chile and that vibe and all that. And not doing this for money, so I know what that feels like, not thinking in capitalist terms about this. I know how it feels to play an instrument, and there's no future for that. There's nobody who's going to help you, and there's nothing. This is really just for you and your friend there and all stuff. So the conservatory, all of this stuff, it doesn't really mean that much to me. The whole power of the music when I'm doing something is directly connected when I was a kid in Chile. And so that's my main focus, and the thing that tells you where north is.
Yeah.
Your North Star. Yeah. So another thing is that if you have a particular voice in this business, and you have lots of people calling you to do that. I mean, to not a particular sound, but to bring something, whatever they call it, to bring some edge to your to the show or whatever that is. At some point, with some success, then you expect to be an actual collaboration, which we always speak in terms of collaboration, but it's not really the case, particularly when you're starting. You're really an employee. And then at some point, like anybody, a director, whoever, in Hollywood, there's lots of new directors that they don't have a word to say about a big Hollywood movie. It's all the executives. So something like that. But at some point, if they really want you for something, they have to let you do that, do your job. Yeah. And that's my perspective on that. And particularly if you're really an asset to the project. So then it complicates things in the sense that more often than not, I think in Hollywood, there's a certain hierarchy where there's not that much of a. They expect you to just follow orders, um, which could work well. I mean, if I'm working with, I don't know, Quincy Jones, and we have to do a Michael Jackson kind of thing, then I'm all ears. I mean,
Gonna follow instructions and do what you're told.
it's fine. I want to learn from him.
Yeah.
There's another thing. If there's people in a group that you know that some executive is gonna ask his niece, 12-year-old niece, what she thinks about a scene, and then she's gonna take a decision about taking that scene off of the movie because for some weird, like the dog barked 2 times and he doesn't like that.
Gotta be three or one.
It becomes really hard to take that seriously. It doesn't matter that he has lots more money and power than you. That's nothing. I don't see anything. I have trouble seeing having that fear of. I don't know. Like I should be really afraid of Elon Musk. I can't take that guy seriously.
Yeah.
So that's.
I feel you.
Same.
Do you, now that you've become known for bringing something unique and different to a score, and as we've been chatting about this almost punk rock or metal approach where you don't have to follow the rules of composition. You've learned them, but you don't have to follow them. Do you feel like there's a pressure that comes along with this to be what is the next new different sound? Do you think when you're brought onto a project, there's this expectation that a Cristobal score is going to be innovative and unique? And does that bring a pressure to it?
No, the only thing that is most stressful is if they expect like a hit song, which is not the same because I have no trouble being experimental and trying new things and all that. I think you don't know how to make a hit song. I don't think you can make actually that. I think that if you take the big artists, whoever that is, they have so much money and push to push to the public a new song that it doesn't really have to be that good. If you put $100 million in promotion, it's gonna sell. You're gonna have enough people going to watch a terrible movie. It's just how it works. But I think the best songs, if I think of the people that I admire from historically musicians or whatever, most of them were not expecting the success from the big track, the big song or whatever they were doing. And I think that's why those songs are really good, because they were not thinking about, making big money or something. I think you can hear it. It kind of sounds like you just want to do business when it's like that. So I don't know. I don't know what that means if somebody tells me they expect a hit.
I mean, I think scoring can be very similar now. You get these scores that are blockbusters in themselves. And I mean, you've obviously experienced it through your projects where the score takes on a life of its own beyond the music. And I would expect, as you're talking about that pressure of creating a hit song, is there pressure in creating a hit score and having it have a life as its own musical entity apart from the film or the series?
I think they just want the score to really help, not necessarily on its own. I think the score can really help a movie, the experience of a movie, if you do the right thing. Or you can destroy it, or you can make the movie really dull and boring. So I think that they know they don't know what they want or how it's supposed to sound. They just ask you to do that job that it makes like a memorable experience. So Yeah, how to calculate that? I don't know. I think you have to. For me, I don't know for somebody else. For me, that means that I have to connect with the project in the way I would if I was writing a song, like with a guitar, and I don't know. I'm Bob Dylan, and I'm just doing a little thing. If I feel that intimacy with the project, then I get a good impression that it's going to work for some reason. Um, which I don't know if that's the way it works for most people, but like this movie I did, Smile. Like I really liked the director, and we were really excited about working on this project. And I felt we had something interesting, and that project costs 17 million, I think, to do. It was supposed to go to Paramount TV, but then when people saw it in test, it scored so high that they changed it to a full movie release and all that. And then it came out, and it made like 260 million out of a 17 million budget, and everybody. No, I don't think anybody was expecting that. The director was. We were all super happy, but for example, the investors they thought we were making something for the television. Nobody thought it was going to be. It wasn't. It was not a calculated hit or something. So when you do something like that, for me, it's the most interesting scenario. Is to make a hit that you don't expect. It's not supposed to be, or whatever that is. The White Lotus is the same thing. They dropped the first season like in the middle of the summer. There wasn't that much publicity. It wasn't like a huge deal. And there's like some people on vacation, whatever. It's like, and then you saw this thing going like this. And again, it wasn't that thing like a Marvel thing that you know it's coming and it's everywhere and it's going to be massive and all that. To me, that's not really interesting. It's to do something, and then for some reason, stuff just goes like this. And but how to do that? I don't know. I think. It's the same. What I said before. I think you have to do it for yourself first, for yourself and whoever, or for your heart or how you feel about it. I don't think you can actually do something for the big public.
Yeah, which I think is a challenging thing in film music, television music, because there is massive commercial expectations on so many of these projects, and to be able to bring that personality and creativity to it is absolutely, I think, a gift a lot of the time, to be given the freedom. And I think you've grown to be able to be afforded that freedom. I guess my question is, if you are an emerging composer, if you're somebody who's developing your sound, figuring out who am I as a writer, composer, that could be a songwriter, that could be in film scoring, what is your advice to staying true to your identity within that commercial system? Because people like eating and, having roofs over their head.
I think it's you only have something to say if you have experience. I think this is a business of having something to say. I think Paul Thomas Anderson has something to say. I think that's why his movies are really what they are. You could argue about technique and this and that. I don't know if it's that. I think any artist, any masterclass that I went to, I felt like those guys were giving me some kind of life experience, and for example, I think that you could learn anything on YouTube. which I would go there if I need to know whether using an unbalanced cable in this connection is going to explode or something. Then that's great.
Tube's great for engineering and not blowing up your house.
That's great. I think that learning anything beyond that is really dangerous. I think you become a target for being replaced by AI. For example, since I'm in music, I get lots of ads from composer tools and VSTs and stuff like that. And so it's going to be like a 9 second before a YouTube. And that in that 9 second, you have a guy pouring the brass, da, 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 and then the drums, da, 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 and then he plays it. In that 9 second, you hear something that sounds like Batman. And it's like, it seems like it's a good idea, but it's a really bad idea. It's like if you do something like that, because a machine can do no problem, and it's going to sound exactly like that, and then I don't know. So, but outside of the AI thing, it's more about
I'm just glad we're getting the same ads.
yeah. But I think that wherever you live, if you travel, for example, in some country and you felt uncomfortable, it's going to make you a better musician than watching YouTube of how to do something, how to do a score for whatever, because that's I don't know that gives you something to say at all. And I think people connect with even if there's no words in a project. I think you do connect. You can feel a connection, a human connection to a story and to whatever there is in there, and that's what you cannot replicate. That's why that's mysterious. That you listen to something and you ask, why does it sound like that? And then you try to do it, but it's not exactly like that, even though you have all the right notes and all the samples and all that, and somehow it doesn't work when you do it. I think it's a very mysterious thing, and I think it's just related to life experience. Because in the end, it's just you're telling something that you lived somewhere to somebody, and that's interesting for that person.
100%.
And that's it.
Yeah.
It's really nothing else.
Absolutely. I think kind of along those lines, but about humanizing the composing experience. I think composition, particularly screen composition, but also just being in the music industry in general, can be so grueling. I think it's an industry where everyone is facing rejection constantly, where the expectations are ridiculous turnaround times, late nights. How do you, as somebody who has come into this industry very organically, how do you protect your peace in that process? How do you not let the music industry and the Hollywoodization of what you're doing destroy your mental health in the process? How do you make it a healthy experience?
So I never went with. I did work with William Morris, for example, for maybe a year, and then I worked maybe for 6 months with Fortress, which are like the biggest guys. And then I was for me it was like backwards. I was forcing myself to do it, and just because you're kind of supposed to become bigger and bigger things and all that. And for me, all I felt with those people and going to Beverly Hills and all that is that it would change my brain. The way they think about music and about movies and all that, you can feel the capitalism behind that. It's always there. And an agent from William Morris, he has to, I don't know, every week maybe give some kind of update on how much money has entered this week or something like that. So it's really the business of music, and that's way too present. In Hollywood, people want you to do the biggest project. They don't care about quality. They don't, so something good. When something is really big, they change words. They start using words like genius.
Right.
This is genius. The director is genius, and all that. And so everything becomes like a blur because it has nothing to do with what you learn about what's good and what's not, and all that. So they use words to. They blend capitalism with words that don't go together. It has nothing to do. I would be happy if they would just talk about financial, things in terms of Wall Street, because this is what they are.
Right.
And they're happy making money, and this movie makes so much money, and we want to buy a boat. And so I would be, for me, I would feel safer if that's the conversation, because I can choose to participate or not, or just to laugh with them or whatever.
Right.
But when you start talking about art, but I know that it's all blended with money, and if you make more money, the art is better and it's more genius. It's just nothing makes sense to me. So, they would bring me a new cop show, for example. There's a huge thing and so much money and this and that. And I was here in Montreal. I received an email from William Morris, and they sent me a link for that show, and if I want to do the music. And I checked it 5 seconds, and it's unwatchable. It's like, it's ridiculous. And so I told him, it's impossible. I cannot do this kind of stuff.
Right.
The phone rang. I see the code from LA. Like the minute I sent it, it's like the phone rang. It was ridiculous. Right. And I take it, and this guy is super angry. It's like, how many people would like this job and this, that, and blah, blah, blah. And again, we're just talking business. So there's no understanding whatsoever. It's just a blur. And that's not for me. So to answer your question, that is one important point, is that everything is homemade. I live in the country. My wife takes care of the deals. Big deals, you have to, I have a couple of lawyers in New York, super big lawyers. I don't need an agent. I don't need that kind of stuff. They do the contracts, and I don't have to hear too much about any of that. And I don't have to know about what I have to do with my life or what I need to say in interviews, or I think all of that stuff deletes you. And for example, I don't want to be sound like either Kim Kardashian or some rapper. Or whenever you read interviews, all I see is a PR agent doing their work. I don't know. This is not obvious for everybody, but I just see it. And I met these people. I met Kanye West and people like that. I know the people around them. I know the entourage and how that works. But when I read an interview where everything seems perfect, perfectly tailored for the moment of the sensibilities of the public and all that, see, I don't know what we're doing here. This is not, it's politics. I don't want to work with politicians. That's,
No, I think that's kind of a beautiful encapsulating sentiment for everything we've been talking about.
Absolutely, yeah. I think we pretty much hit an hour. I don't know, but I certainly feel I get a sense of integrity and a sense of truth. And you seem to be tired with a lot of shit you've experienced, and that way you're talking about it. I think it's kind of brave too, because a lot of people, myself, I would certainly feel at times that I want to protect certain things. I think it's cool that you're mentioning those things, and understanding now where you come from, I see your mindset.
That's another thing. Lots of that stuff, for being honest and whatever that is, it can be really, really hard on the moment. It's not necessarily something I would recommend for everybody. But if you do it, you have to be patient, because all of that stuff pays off it does, the waves kind of change, and then you realize you really are in the place that you want to be. You're not there's not like wires making you do stuff, and you don't understand why you're so depressed. Hollywood people, actors, and people
Right.
going into depression and killing themselves.
Yeah.
And they like multimillionaires. And you say, why? Is that the way you're kind of marionette? Marionette?
Puppet.
Puppet,
Yeah.
yes. And it really pays off. You take chances, and then on the moment, it's like, oh my God, everybody's angry against me. But
Mhm.
that doesn't stay, and you're always going like this, and there's lots of people that have been working in the last few months. They're intelligent people. They're not reading, TMZ and think that's reality.
Yeah.
And this is how things work.
Yeah.
People in this business, they're smart. I mean, I worked with, Spike Jones last month in this movie with Demi Moore and Edward Norton and whatnot. And for them, it's like, we don't speak about that. It doesn't exist. Like, whatever is on the Hollywood Reporters, we're doing something, and that's that. And it's just amazing people to work with. And I'm just happy about that. And the people I shouldn't work with, I'm happy they're not there. I know I don't want to work with Marvel, for example. I would be depressed if I was working in a Marvel movie. So
Even
that's
with
fine.
that Marvel paycheck?
Sorry?
I said, even with that Marvel paycheck?
Even worse, I would get drunk and coked up, and it's just like.
Oh, man.
I have to say, it's not everything they do. Most of what they do for me, it's bad, but I don't know. Like this Logan movie, and I was like, wow, this is amazing. What happened? And it's because there's a director who's more respected, and they listen more to him, and you can see it. Like Thor Ragnarok is one of the better movies that they do, and it's because the director, there's a vision, and they respect the guy.
Right.
And I'm sure there were trouble going on, but there's more. You can feel more respect and more vision, and there's something interesting to watch. So, just don't want to bash on Marvel in general, but yeah.
Amazing.
Heather, Cristobal, thank you very much.
This has been lovely. Thank you. I hope everybody who's here took a little bit of inspiration away from it. I know I did for sure.
Likewise. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.